Lanre Arugundadi, saying that NBC's sanction is targeted at undermining the credibility of press freedom in Nigeria. You recall that on Channels Television Politics Today, on March 22, Dati Baba Ahmed, vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, has stated that there was no president-elect because Bola Tinubu allegedly did not meet the requirements of the Constitution. He had asked Nigeria's Chief Justice Olukayode Ariwola not to swear in Tinubu as president. Channels TV was then sanctioned by NBC for a volatile broadcast capable of inciting public disorder and violating sections of the Broadcasting Code in response to Dati's statement. I have via the telephone Barrister Fred Nzako, who is a political commentator and, of course, a social affairs commentator, including an economic analyst. Barrister Fred, good afternoon and welcome to the World News at 12.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to our dear listeners.
Barrister, we recall that due to the interview that was granted by Seun Okinbaloye of Channels Television to Dati Baba Ahmed, the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, the NBC fined them 5 million naira. I recall during the interview, Seun said that, he threw the question back to Dati Ahmed, saying that this is your opinion, this is basically your own perception. However, the NBC, through an indictment or a letter written by one of the spokesperson in the All Progressives Congress, Bayo Onanuga, wrote, and immediately he wrote that the NBC swiftly sanctioned, Channels Television with the 5 billion naira fine. The question now is the NBC not meant to be an independent body in as much as they're a regulating body? Are they not meant to independently see how they investigate that particular complaint before issuing that fine? Does it mean that the body cannot independently make investigations and, of course, make its own conclusions rather than going by a directive from the All Progressives Congress? Or is it possibly because Tinubu is now the president-elect? Is that how the activities within the press will continue?
Well, I think that anybody who feels aggrieved by the broadcast or publication, so to speak, of any media organization has recourse to complain. And in this case, if it is a broadcast house, the NBC is the organ or the agency, which is the regulatory agency to whom such complaint will be laid. So those who laid complaint before the NBC have not done anything wrong. But the question will be, on what basis would the NBC sanction a media organization without observing the basic tenets of natural justice, which is what we call audi alteram partem, which is fair hearing. Fair hearing. The concept and the doctrine of fair hearing is germane to natural justice, that you cannot punish a man without listening to his own side and without giving him opportunity to defend himself. I do not know whether Channel Television was given opportunity to defend themselves, but I know that the broadcast was a live broadcast. Mr. Dati Baba made statement that nobody asked him to make. And I do not know whether NBC expected Channels or Mr. Okinbaloye to rise from his seat and go and block the mouth of Mr. Dati Baba Ahmed because it was live, and if it was a pre-recorded program, one could say, well, they could have cut off any side that they feel would bring them into a problem or challenge or collision costs with NBC. But it was a live broadcast. And Mr. Okinbaloye went ahead to say that the statement coming from you was your own statement. And the man said yes, that he was not a careless talker, and that whatever he says, that he will own up to such statements.
All right.
So I think the sledgehammer on Channels Television was uncalled for.
All right.
Because not only that it was not under their control not to do the broadcast, it was also not. They were also not given fair hearing. And above all, if media is to be free, such gagging by NBC, such intimidation by NBC will not help the freedom of information and freedom of broadcast, and that required authority that the fourth estate of the realm should have to be able to boldly give Nigerians what they expect.
All right, Barrister, here is the scenario. During the campaign of the just concluded presidential elections, that is during the campaign before the elections, we had several personalities who had to attend interviews on several media channels. Some responses were quite volatile. We have the chief spokesperson of the All Progressives Congress, the Presidential Campaign Council, which is in person of Festus Keyamo, who has actually made inciting statements, volatile statements actually, on the media forum concerning his opponents. How comes, such a fine was not tendered on him? Or how comes nobody had, put up any allegation concerning his utterances and saying that he needed to respond or, either make a reprieve on his utterance, or would I say retract his utterance on that medium? Could it be because the presidential candidate, that is the president-elect in person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is now the one in charge? Is this how it's going to be for media houses not to be able to grant interviews because they would be afraid that fines can be imposed on them at any point in time?
I find it difficult to lay any blame for any action of the present government. I find it very difficult to lay any blame on Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Okay.
He is the president-elect. He has not been sworn in. He has not taken over office. So if there is anything that anybody does not like going on in government of today, the person should hold President Muhammad Buhari and his government accountable and responsible, and cannot be the responsibility of the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has not been sworn in. So nobody should begin to ascribe some insinuations that if this is the kind of government to be expected. I am one of the optimists who believe that we should expect good governance going forward, because Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a completely different person from President Muhammad Buhari, completely different person, and he will most likely work with completely different mindset and a different scenario from that of Buhari.
Right.
There were instances in the times past when many media houses were fined. AIT was fined, many others were fined. It was this same government that did it. Bola Ahmed Tinubu was not the president-elect then. So, but with all these things going on, we should be able to document them and then ask that whenever he assumes office, that he will be conscious of such feelings among the people, and that his government should not undermine the independence of the media, so that Nigeria should be able to grow in their media industry.
While you're still on the line, there is also another development that I wanted to respond to, and that's concerning Nwajiagu, who has been in detention at the State Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department, Banti Yaba, after threatening to invite members of the indigenous people of Biafra from the southeast to help secure the lives and properties of Igbos living in Lagos. Now, a legal team which attempted to secure the bail and release of the detained Eze Igbo of Ebonyi State in Lagos State in person of Frederick Nwajiagu failed yesterday as he remained in police custody. Nwajiagu has been in detention at the State Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department, Pantiyaba of the state, after threatening to invite members of IPOB from the southeast to help secure the lives and properties of Igbos living in Lagos. Now, on Tuesday, a group of Igbo leaders from Lagos and other parts of the southeast region, while they went there to solicit the bail and release, they did not succeed because the police told them that investigations were, still ongoing. Another team of lawyers reportedly went to the police department, but were told to give detectives time to carry out thorough investigations into the case. Now, the Igbo leader had stated that he stood by his words and that his people must take a stand in Lagos State by shutting down their economic activities to protest the alleged intimidation they had been facing from other non-Igbo residents of the state. So how would you react to this particular development concerning the Eze Igbo of Ajaoi State in Lagos?
Well, anybody who is found wanting, who the authorities feel has misconducted himself and is arrested, it's expected that such a person should not be detained beyond 48 hours. That is provision of the law. Should not be detained beyond 48 hours and should be granted administrative bail by the security agencies. For the security agencies to detain him beyond 48 hours, the law provides that they should get an order of court to so do. Otherwise, they will be breaching his fundamental rights to freedom of to liberty and rights to be free to live his life the way he wants. But if the court, or rather, if the police have secured an order from the court to further remand him and conclude the investigation, then they would have gone through due process. But if there was no such order from the court, detaining him beyond 48 hours would amount to a breach of his rights.
He was arrested on Saturday, a very early morning on Saturday. Today is Wednesday. Would we say that he's being used to be like an example or a scapegoat to other persons who may want to make such statements, such agitations, on social media, from deflecting, or rather from stopping to continue in that manner like the Eze did? Is that a way of disabusing the minds of other people who may have their own discontent concerning certain things from going the route through which the Eze went through?
Well, everybody knows that there are formal and legitimate routes to go whenever anybody feels discontented about any issue. But my own position is that no matter the route anybody goes, if such route is the type that will be of security concern, the security agencies have the right to call the person over for interrogation, but not to detain the person beyond 48 hours. If what they have preliminarily obtained requires that he will be charged to court, they should not delay in taking him to court. And if what they have seen does not require taking him to court, they should grant him an administrative bail pending the conclusion of the investigation. And like I said, if there are new information or new findings which requires that they will keep him further, they must get an order from the court to keep him further. We must operate by the rules so that the rule and the law are predictable. One should expect that if this action takes place, this will be the reaction. And not by the rule of thumb where any security agency or any police officer will detain another citizen unduly, illegally, irrespective of whatever the fellow has done. We must always play by the rules and ensure that the rights of citizens are not breached. If they found out something new that requires his being kept in detention further, they must get the consent of a court of competent jurisdiction so to do.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Fred Nsako, for being part of the World News at 12:90 on VOP 90.3 FM. I do appreciate that.
Many thanks.
All right, moving on. The Port Harcourt Division of the Appeal Court has overturned the Federal High Court judgment which had awarded over 30 billion naira against Ebonyi State government and a Ganchi order. The appellate court, in a unanimous judgment, set aside the lower court's judgment for lack of jurisdiction and proceeded to strike same out. The Federal High Court, presided over by Justice Stephen Dalio Pam, had on the 15th day of July 2022 delivered judgment against Ebonyi State government in a suit brought to it by Andrew Bishton Limited and two other claimants over a failed discontinued contract for the recovery of excess deductions from Paris Club loan. The claimant had approached the lower court to claim, among other things, the sum of 30 billion naira and other ancillary claims against the state government as irreparable damages for failure to pay a 25% commission on the failed contract with the Federal High Court granted. The appeal court, however, overturned the judgment for lack of jurisdiction of the court as well as its lack of merit. Now, the minority caucuses in the House of Representatives have commenced a process of alliance to present a unified front ahead of the inauguration of the 10th session of the House in June. The lawmakers met on Tuesday at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja Lawmakers from 6 minority parties were also in attendance. Several new and returning lawmakers attended the meeting, which started about 10 p.m. The parties are the People's Democratic Party, Labour Party, All Progressives Grand Alliance, Social Democratic Party, Youth Progressives Party, and the New Nigerian People's Party. The moderator of the meeting, Dachung Bagos, informed the lawmakers that the combined strength of the opposition is more than the ruling party. He noted that there is a need for unity to achieve a collective interest. He also noted that the alliance can produce an impossible upset if all the lawmakers are committed to the alliance. The ruling All Progressives Congress has so far won 162 seats out of the 325 seats declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Meanwhile, the combined strength of the opposition is 163 seats, with the PDP having 102 seats. Labour Party and the New Nigeria People's Party have 34 and 18 seats respectively, APGA 4 seats, ADC and SDP 2 each, while YPP has 1 seat. Speaking on the alliance, Judge Ozodinobi, a lawmaker from Anambra State, said the Labour Party is committed to an alliance as long as the process aligns with its values. Mr. Ozodinobi, who spoke on behalf of the Labour Party caucus, said they will back anyone the group decides as long as the person is competent and has values that aligns with the party's values as well. Now, on stories outside the shores of Nigeria, the U.S. is going to hell, Donald Trump has said in a defiant address after pleading not guilty to falsifying business records to hide damaging information ahead of the 2016 election. The former president was charged with 34 counts in a Manhattan court in New York on Tuesday. These relate to a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels, who says they had an adulterous affair. Mr. Trump is the first U.S. president in history to face a criminal trial. Earlier, he sat stony-faced and silent for the nearly long-hour proceedings before Judge Juan Merchan, speaking out loud only in response to the judge's questions and to enter his plea of not guilty. Mr. Trump said nothing to reporters as he left the court. Now, to wrap up the world news at 12, let's take a look once again at the headlines. Now, you heard that the International Press Center has asked the Nigerian Commission, NBC, to reverse 5 million naira fine imposed on Channels Television. You also heard that the appeal court has quashed 30 billion naira judgment against Ebonyi government. PDP, Labour Party, other minority parties form alliance to produce Rep Speaker. Igbo Chief Nwajagu remains in Nigerian police detention in Lagos as bail application fails. And on the foreign scene, we also have Trump stating that the U.S. will go to hell. And that is a wrap on the world news at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Nwachukwu. For the news mentioned on major of our bulletins, do send an email to news@voiceofthepeople.ng.